Good evening, everyone. Erev Tov and Chanukah Sameach. And of course, this is also the few moments after Rosh Chodesh Tevet. So we have a lot to celebrate today, Baruch Hashem. All right, this evening, I think what we're going to do, because this is the holiday of miracles, I thought this evening we'll talk a little bit about what makes something a miracle, and also, we also talk about nisim v'niflaot, nisim v'niflaot. What is the difference in a nes and a pella? Okay, both of those terms, are they just interchangeably used, or are they actually two different aspects of Hashem's governance and his hashgacha over Klal Yisrael and over the world at large? First of all, I'll start with a question that's not related directly to our parsha, which this week is Mikeitz. It's the second in the parshiot of the constant unfolding story of Yosef, but we know that this parsha talks about Yaakov's somewhat miraculous salvation of Yosef. So we're going to talk about it this evening, and but I thought what we do is actually take ourselves away from this week's parsha and to a question that we could ask on regarding Yetziat Mitzrayim, the Exodus from Egypt. We know that within a few days, just within a few days after leaving Mitzrayim, with extraordinary events which accompanied that, the extraordinary events which accompanied the leaving of Mitzrayim, the Jews turned away very quickly, and they said, "Well, what can we?" They were afraid we'll have nothing to drink, nothing to eat. After they'd gone through an entire year of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's specialized hashgacha and supervision over their lives in Egypt, and suddenly they turn right before they get to the Red Sea, and they say, "We're going to die." And they turned on Moshe and they asked him, "How could you take us into this desert, that to die in the desert? And we told you, so to speak, Torah doesn't tell us that they did, but we told you that we'd rather die in Egypt than have an uncertain fate in the desert." So we know that the question is, after they've had all those miracles, or at least certainly those very unusual interplays with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, how could they turn so quickly, and how could they turn so quickly to not believing that Hashem would save them? So I would suggest that part of what we can say is that after a while, you get used to miracles. And when you get used to miracles usually are what we would consider to be one-time events that happen in the course of human history or Jewish history, and that's what their special nature is. But when things happen over and over again, then we get used to it. It becomes the status quo. It becomes something that we expect in life. And if that's the case, we can now begin to understand a little better how Jews would turn and ignore all of the chesed that Hashem has done for them, and then expect to to just expect miracles? I think the answer to this question is the difference between a nes and a pella. That in fact, the word niflaot and the word nisim, they are not interchangeable. They are words which describe two separate forms of relationship between Hashem and the Jewish people or people at large. The word nes is found various times in Tanakh, and its meaning usually has to do with a part of the ship that's sailing, and it's a mast, a tall pole that allows people to see either from the ship to distant points, or from distant points to know that there is something, a ship, which is coming in. And it's called a nes. And we refer to nisim, refer to these special interactions between Hashem and the Jewish people as nisim. Anybody can see it. Anybody who wants to see will see and know what a nes is. It number one, it's one facet of a nes is its rarity. It does not happen all the time, usually. All right, and second of all, we're going to see from a Mishnah in Pirkei Avot that that it has other characteristics as well. That is what we would call a nes, something which happens to a person, an individual, or even to a people, which goes beyond the normal expectations of a natural world. That's a nes. But the second manifestation of Hashem's interaction with human beings is called a pella. Now, the Hebrew shoresh pella, Pei Lamed Aleph, actually means something which is hidden or unattainable. So, for example, when Hashem was coming to Sarah Imenu and to Avram Avinu to tell them that they were to have a child, so Sarah laughed, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, Hayipolei me Hashem davar. Is anything too wondrous for God? Okay, and that means that the word Pella, is there anything hidden from God? Is there anything that God cannot do? That's the idea of Pella. We find the word Pella several other times, and each time it means something which is hidden or unattainable. So now we have two meanings of the words, or this concept of interacting, that Hashem interacts with his world. One is nes. Nes is actually something that most people can tell, is everybody, the splitting of the Yam Suf. We'll give that as an example. That's a nes. And if you would ask people, give me the prime example of what a nes is, most people, or not most, but certainly a large number of people will say, something like splitting of the Red Sea. But there is, though, this interaction of Pella. Pella is no different than a nes. The only difference is it has to do with our understanding and recognition of Hashem's providing for us. Example, when this hashgacha of Hashem happens over and over and over again, it becomes, or it grows out of the category of nes and becomes a Pella. No less of a manifestation of Hashem in the world, but it is rarer. It is not a part of the nature. So therefore, the word Pella means, for example, a child being born. Thank God, a child is born with limbs intact and with bodily health, mental health. We tend to say it's a miracle. Yes, it is. But more specifically, it is a pele. It is that form of interaction that Hashem has in his world, which, because of its frequency, from our perspective, it gets lost. And so therefore, of course, by the way, anybody who's ever witnessed the birth of a baby, or even when you wake up in the morning, the blinking of your eyes, or the idea that you wake up in the morning and you say, Modani lefanecha, melech chai v'kaim she'achzarta bi nishmati, that you've returned my neshama bechemla, with graciousness and with compassion, Rabba emunatecha. So that in fact, HaKadosh Baruch Hu's faithfulness to bring us back to life, to revive us from a state of unconsciousness when we are literally unaware of what is going around us, that in itself is not a nace alone. It's a pele. It is that which we come because of its frequency to expect it to happen. When it doesn't, of course, we know that that leads to shock and surprise. Now let's see how this plays out. But right before it does, I'd like to try to demonstrate to you the difference between the two that we say every single day on this, not just on Hanukkah, but every day of the year. In Shmona Esrei, what do we say? We say Modim anachnu loch. We acknowledge you. Shata hu Hashem Elokeinu. We are grateful and we acknowledge. The word modim means to acknowledge. To be moda al ha'emes doesn't mean only to thank. It means to acknowledge. But remember, of course, thanks is a form of acknowledgement. Thanks is a form of acknowledgement. I can't do it all by myself. I, as a human being, need other people's help. And certainly, we all need HaKadosh Baruch Hu's help to attain whatever we want to attain. So when we say modim, what we're really saying is I acknowledge I can't do this myself. And for example, rich man is invited to a poor man's house. He has a meal there at the poor man's house, and it's nowhere near the type of meal that he would have with his own servants or in his own house. But yet, when he leaves the house of the poor man, he says, "Ani modelecha," thank you. For what? Anything he got in the man's house, he could get in his own house, and probably of superior material quality. But the answer is, the one thing that he cannot get is the camaraderie, the human concern and care. That you can't duplicate by yourself. You can't replicate. That aspect of human interaction can only come with another human being. So you say thank you, not for the, let's say, the relatively meager meal. I'm not saying it's meager, but relatively meager meal. He gets something that he could not otherwise get. So now, let's just review briefly. The terms nace and pella, while they have a lot of shared characteristics, the most important one being they both come from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, nevertheless, they are not synonymous. There are differences between them, and each difference reflects a different aspect of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's concern for his world, both for us as individuals and as a people, Klal Yisrael. So the second thing is, of course, that one is called a nace because it's evident. That form of interaction is evident to all. Splitting of the Red Sea. All right, and then there's a pele. Pele means that it's something that happens much more frequently. It actually seems to go according to the laws of nature. The laws of nature. So, for example, perhaps the first time we saw human beings saw an airplane flying, they must have considered it some form of a nace, a one-time occurrence. But now we know that thousands and thousands of times per day, those principles of aerodynamics are utilized, so they're not really a nace. They are, however, a pella. That HaKadosh Baruch Hu set up rules of conduct and of nature by which we can get to places that we never thought attainable quickly and safely. So now, with this understanding on this Chag HaUrim, on the holiday of lights and the holiday of Nisim, we're going to examine in Pirkei Avot, Parakeh, Mishnah Hey. The Torah tells us, Asara Nisim Na'asu La'avoteinu. There were 10 Nisim. Now here the Torah does not necessarily distinguish, or Pirkei Avos does not necessarily distinguish between a nace and a pella. But I do want to make one more statement about nace and pella. This idea of these two distinct interactions by HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we find and we say every day in Davening. So we say, Modim anachnu loch, we thank you, Hashem, we acknowledge you, we acknowledge Hashem Elokeinu, that you are God, and then we say that we also acknowledge for Hashem for all of his nisim, al nisim shebachol yom, that erev avoker v'tzorayim, right? That HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives us every day. He provides nisim for us that we would not expect. And then we say, that the pelav al niflotecha and these plaot, these interactions with us, which are hidden to us, not to God. They're at every time. The word eight, like the word ata, means every single second. But it happens so frequently that we don't even acknowledge it as something which is beyond nature, but actually something which is necessary for us to live. And that's the difference. A pella happens very often, b'choles, and a nace is erev avoker v'tzarayim. That it is less frequent, but nevertheless no less from the hand of God. Now, let's see what the Mishnah in Pirkei Avos says, Mishnah Hey Parakeh. Asara nisim na'asu la'avoteinu. There were 10 distinct forms of nisim that Hashem did for our forefathers, B'veit HaMikdash. And then the Torah actually lists them. And we're going to see that they can come in 3 distinct categories. Category number 1 are actions that defy physics. That's one. A second set is actions that defy not physics, but they defy probability. Unlikely that it's going to happen. Very unlikely that it's going to happen. Chazal include that also as a nace, a form of nace. And the third we will see in a moment. So the first one is Lo hipila isha mereach basar hektish, that no woman who, and of course many women came to the Beit HaMikdash after giving birth, various other times. So of course there were a lot of korbanot, and the meat is slaughtered there. And some people who have sensitive stomachs and sensitive forms of senses could actually, a woman, if she's pregnant at some stage in her pregnancy, she, God forbid, could have a miscarriage. So they said, no woman ever had a miscarriage in the Beis HaMikdash. And then, v'lo hisriach basar hektish me'olam. And even though thousands of korbanot were slaughtered, certainly hundreds every day, and eventually, at certain times, thousands, the Beis HaMikdash says that a woman, that no one actually ever became, the meat never deteriorated. It never soured, so to speak. There was no third type of naces. You never saw a fly. You got all kinds of meat there, Hot days, difficult, no flies. So that's what Chazal say. V'lo ira keri l'kohen gadol b'yom kippur. A Kohen Gadol on the day of Yom Kippur, when he's supposed to do all of the services, the entire day and night of the in the Beit HaMikdash on Yom Kippur, he never became tamei, and therefore he did not have to be replaced. Then, now these all have to do with defying probability. On any one day or any one korban, yeah, a woman could become ill. The meat can become rancid, and a Kohen could become tamei. It's possible. We're talking about 800-900 years, so it never happened. That defies probability. Then we'll have the next set of nisim. V'lo kibu geshamim eish shel atzei hamaracha. The rain, when it came down, never extinguished the fire from the maracha of the arrangement of the wood, which technically the rain would tend to make to destroy the fire. Didn't happen. V'lo nitzcha ruach et amud ha'asha. Further, in the Beis HaMikdash, in the 5th parak of Pirkei Avot, on the 5th Mishnah, it says there was a pillar of smoke which emanated from the Mizbeach and went straight up, and no wind ever disrupted that pillar to disrupt its ability to go straight up. Then the next one is v'lo nimtza psul ba'omer uvishtei alechem uvelechem apayim, and all of the special mitzvot that had to do with Shavuot, or that had to do with the mitzvot atuluyot ba'aretz, that they would bring as korbanot, grain korbanot, to the Beis HaMikdash. There was never a psul or disqualification that was ever brought in all those years. Then, okay, so that brings so we now have two forms of interaction, which the Mishnah defines as beyond any expectation, and therefore puts it in the general category of nace. One is behaviors that that defy probability. The other is the mitzvot, or behaviors that defy the laws of physics, basically. The next one, we're going to see what really defies the laws of physics. Omdim tzfufim. They would stand. There were so many people in the Beis HaMikdash. It was so completely crowded that they stood tzfufim. They were not only shoulder to shoulder. Their bodies would almost touch always, but mishtachavim revachim. When they bowed down, they did not sense any feelings of being crowded. That tends to defy the laws of physics, not just shall we say the laws of probability, but the laws of physics. Then the Mishnah says, "V'lo hizik nachash v'akrav Yerushalayim me'olam." In Yerushalayim itself, no scorpions ever bit people. There are many scorpions in that part of the world, and in Eretz Yisrael too. But when they were in the Beis HaMikdash, no one was ever attacked by a scorpion or certain forms of poisonous snakes. So these are the two areas that we're talking about. Now we're going to see the third area of what a nace is. V'lo amar adam l'chaveru. No person ever said to the guy next to him, let's say it's the first day of Sukkot, second day of Sukkot, whatever it may be, they're all in the Beis HaMikdash. They're bringing the korbans. There are so many korbanot, you can't even count them. Then on top of that, everybody has his esrog and his lulav. And then all of these people, not all of them, but a huge segment of people has come from all over Eretz Yisrael. They came from Haifa. They come from Kiryat Sefer. They come from all over Eretz Yisrael, Haifa, all right? And There they are in the Beis Hamikdash, all to that Makom Kadosh. And then, especially when they're bringing Ma'aser Sheni, and they're bringing all of the things that go with them, right? So you can imagine how difficult it would be to find places of lodging. And the Mishnah says, "V'lo amar adam lachavero," no person ever said to his friend, "Sar li hamakom she'alim b'Yerushalayim," I couldn't find a place to sleep in Yerushalayim last night. This is the third area of Nace. This is the Nace, which may be the greatest of all, the Nace of human nature. Usually, it's hard to say that they didn't find any place. Why? Because of the way the Mishnah phrases it. V'lo amar adam lachavero. Nobody ever said to the guy next to him, his friend, "Sar li hamakom," I didn't have a place to sleep last night. Because why didn't you just simply say, no one ever was deprived of a place to sleep? That's the way the Mishnah is worded throughout this Mishnah. That's really what it is. But here, all of a sudden, it changes. And it says, nobody ever said to his friend, I couldn't find a place. You know why? Why is the Mishnah worded that way? Because the truth is, if somebody couldn't find a place, it's natural for them to say, you know what, if this guy next to me wouldn't have been here, I would have had a place to be. We do that often. That's defining human nature. That's the defining of human nature. The defining of human nature is that when things go wrong, we look for somebody to blame. And the Mishnah says, in all those 900 years, people, it's not like they'd never had a place that everybody always had enough lodging, everybody was comfortable, everything was fine. No, everything wasn't always fine. But what they didn't do was to blame it on the person next to them by thinking even, well, if you weren't here, I would have had a place. And it is that magnificent idea of defying human nature that is what the Beis Hamikdash is all about. Avas Yisrael, the love of the Jewish people, and the camaraderie which comes with it, with all of the korbanot, and with all of the people who are crowded into the Beis Hamikdash, they always managed to but they managed to live up to the idea of v'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. You are to love your fellow Jew as you would wish. You would wish for your fellow Jew what you would wish for yourself. That's what Rav Hirsch says. That the idea is that what is v'ahavta l'reacha kamocha? Right, just as you wish for yourself good health, your family as well, good health, friendship, all that is all material needs being met. So that's what you wish that for your neighbor. As you wish for yourself, so you wish for that person. That's a hard thing for us to do, but it is something that is the hallmark of the Jewish people. And now, while we are engaged in this mortal battle and struggle of good against evil, it's even more important. In Chazal, I think we all can recognize the love of the Jewish people has to supersede all. We have our differences. We don't always practice the same. Some of us don't even practice very much at all. But nevertheless, the idea of Ahavat Yisrael, of loving our fellow Jew, is something that we have to be mitgaber and make sure that that during this war, and then of course carrying on afterwards, that our love is for fellow Jews continues unimpeded. And may it be Hashem's will that as when we wake up in the morning, the first thing we look at, whether it's after we daven or but very early in the morning, how are my brothers and sisters doing in Eretz Yisrael? Are my brothers protected as they go to war? And are their wives and families protected so that the war should not come to them, while their husbands are fighting? That should be with us for as long as we live, to forever say, Lo amar adam lechaveru. No one ever said to me, if it weren't for you, I'd have been a happier guy. But no. if it's precisely because I'm a part of Klal Yisrael, and you and I are sharing in the sacred experience of in the Beis Hamikdash, Halavai, but even in the very treacherous experiences of the threats from Rishoyim, Yimach Shemam V'Zichram. Nevertheless, that's when we band together. That's when we are at our very best. So on this holiday of Nisan, let us hope that HaKadosh Baruch Hu helps us both to appreciate the nisim in our lives. It seemed to be easier, and as well the plaot, those elements in life that we take for granted. That's what a pella is. That's what the Jews took for granted. After a while, they saw so many nisim in Mitzrayim, they took it for granted. And when it didn't seem to come on time and they weren't served properly, they, as human beings do, tend to grumble. So may it be Hashem's will that we are ever cognizant of the big miracles in our lives that are obvious to see, but maybe as much, if not more so, the small daily in and out, each and every day that Hashem provides for us, that we acknowledge it. Modim Hashem Elokeinu, Modim Anachnu Lach. We acknowledge you. We acknowledge you, Hashem. Sha'ato Hashem Elokeinu. That everything that we have comes from you. All right, everyone, a Chanukah Sameach, the last 2 days of Chanukah, let us rejoice, and in Yirtzeh Hashem, we'll see you next week.
Thank you. Good job.
You're welcome, everybody. Bye.